So, Rufus, do you remember what it was like to date back in the 1980s and so forth?
Why do you have to say the 1980s? It's not like we were dating in the 1880s.
That's true. Do you remember what it was like in the 1880s?
Yeah, Liz Borden and myself.
Go for a stroll. Nice family.
Yes, I was strolling through the park one day in the merry month of May. I was taken by surprise.
Yeah. You really dodged a bullet, or rather an axe.
Lost my desk.
I do like it. It's very classy, man. I got to say.
Yes, it was a gift from my friend, the late J.J. Pennypacker.
Yes.
He was a wealthy industrial.
Yes, he's diversifying these days, getting into.
So anyway, dating in the 1980s.
Back in the day.
Yeah, I did my share of dating in the 1980s. Oddly enough, I think I told you. Yeah, here I am, married, got the kid, the house,
living
the soon to be the ex-wife, but that's besides the point. But, it's like I kind of did the whole, I don't know if it's really, you could call it the American dream or not, but, I did the whole ritual, so to speak. I never once asked the girl out on a date in the traditional sense in my life. So what did you do? Like snuck around the end or something? Like, whoa, you're here too, baby? I think that, and no, it's just the kind of thing, it's got a thing where, I was a late bloomer. It's like in high school, I was too busy playing with my cars and my woodworking and all that kind of stuff. And then it's like I saw some of my friends who were dating and had girlfriends. And it would be like, I'd call up my friend and it's like, hey, Joe, you want to go to the diner tonight? Oh, we go to see what Kathy
right. All of a sudden, there was a line of command.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was a kind of thing where it's like, and me being the single guy, I'm like, what the hell? It's like full of Ralph Cramden. It's like, you just march up to her and you tell her, I'm going out, woman. Yeah.
I'm the king of my castle.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'll tell you.
But, so it's the kind of thing where, usually, it's like after school activities. I was on stage crew, which I helped build the sets for the plays.
That had to be a great place to meet chicks. No, I would imagine like art chicks.
Well, that was the thing. It'd be like, you have some of the, it's like, you have the group. And then it would be like, they're going to take a quick run over to Carvel, or they're going to take a quick run out, to get some burgers. It's like, so it was like in that kind of setting. I'd just be like, some girls like, hey, you want to take a ride? Go and okay, but it wasn't like the
official, like, hi, like my name is, this is a flower for you.
It's Judy Garland and the old Andy Hardy movies. Like, oh gosh, would you want to go to the show with me?
Yes. A lot less formal, I would say, You had to devise ways to like go on a date without actually asking for a date, right?
Right. And then, then when I got to college, it was just like, there were girls in the dorm or whatever. And it was like, because I lived on a co-ed floor. So it's kind of thing like, you're kind of friends or whatever. It's not that pressure. Like, you're approaching some total strange girl, just be like, you want to go to dinner? That kind of thing.
I remember,
when you go to the cafeteria.
I would say I could divide the high school dating epic into two periods: when I had a car and when I didn't have a car. Because like there was no place for you to go. You could go to your mom's house and like try to make out in your room, right? But it'd be like, hey, well, keep the door open. You hear right this from the bottom level, right? Yeah, you're okay, mom. And like, or you could go to your car, which, was like a little privacy chamber, and, you could make out and do what other hellacious things you needed to do. Your raging hormone.
Yeah, exactly.
We probably did some very weird
hoping that none of my family finds this kind of thing, but it was like, once I inherited my father's 1984 Mercury Grand Marquis with the reclining front seats, things took a quantum leap forward.
Exactly. Like you wanted something that could accommodate a mattress in the back, ideally,
I look at the kind of stuff, without getting graphic, it's like, I look at the shit we used to do in that car, and it's like...
The poor current owner?
Now you got inside bed, and it's like, couldn't even replicate it. Of course, it's like, It's also 35 years later, you're back.
Yeah, absolutely. No, you got very crafty back in the day, So I do remember going to, I'm trying to think, like, what would you do? You'd go to like a Swenson's, right? Swanson's or whatever. Those like the Friendlies type place. You'd go to a restaurant and you'd kind of like feel very adult sitting there with your girlfriend, and then you drive home or whatever. And, it was kind of like a Beach Boys song. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you were, someday we're going to be grown-ups and blah, 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 blah. But not today. And, little did I know that grown-up thing came with a whole layer of responsibility. You know what I mean? If only you could enjoy the stuff when it was happening instead of like, longing for something else.
Yeah. But the one thing that has definitely changed between, our dating years and kids today, I can think of a couple of times where, oh, God, I wish I had a cell phone. Not again. It's like, do you remember being like on a date with some girl and it's like, she's just rambling on and you're just sitting there. Yeah. And you see her lips moving, but all you hear is like,
I gotta get out of here. I gotta get out of here. I'm going to go see about the thing with the thing and climb out the bathroom window.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, my friend, he needs my advice. He doesn't know whether he should import more or export more.
Yeah, I don't know. See, cell phones could have been a double-edged sword. I used to date this girl. You probably knew her, and we'll call her, to keep her identity safe, Anne Marie. And Anne Marie, like I'd go over her house, we'd hang out and we'd smooch a little in her basement, And then I'd leave about 11:30 or whatever, reasonable time, but when her parents kicked me out. And then I'd go down to the club and I'd like hang out and I'd party with the boys.
I was following the let in the front door.
And like that would, that would have gotten uncovered because I would have taken some drunk selfie or whatever at 2 a.m. in the morning, and been busted. So I think those cell phones could be a double-edged sword.
Yeah, they tend to be a leash too. It's like, going back to the 80s, remember pagers?
Yeah, that was the 90s though, really, wasn't it? More?
Oh, it's the 90s? I thought that was more like late 80s. Like,
late 80s.
I never made a difference.
You'd get like a message, a phone number, and you had to call it back.
Yeah. It's like, oh, somebody's trying to call me.
Yeah,
great.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Like,
let me just pull out my electric typewriter and type them a letter. Let me just pull out my electric typewriter and type them a letter.
Yes, it's like, so was that that would be more the 90s also. And they have like the big organizer things with like the built-in calculator and you'd store all your numbers. I think of all the
stupid machines I've had, from the Palm Pilot to the BlackBerry.
At 9 does it all.
Right, exactly. So it's pretty crazy. Yeah, keeping up with the latest technology and stuff like that. It's just so futile. Probably have a pile of that crap in my attic or whatever,
Yeah, the 80s, some of the things that like kids today can't do, at least around here, is drive-in movies. We caught the tail end of that.
That was very cool and very liberating, very private.
The whole ritual of dating, it was like, especially going somewhere nice. You're putting on like the actual shirt, buttoning it up, the tie.
Well, I see what my kids do now.
It's almost like you're Sir Lancelot preparing for battle. Where'd you go? You finally fell out. You fell down off your stool drunk. Like the whole thing where, sometimes there was a real special occasion. You got to wash and wax the car like she would care. You vacuum it out, you make everything nice, you go to pick her up, and it's like, you got to deal with the parents, there's her old man. So, what are your plans for tonight, young man? And it's like, well, I was kind of hoping to feel your daughter.
11:30, yes. It's funny you should say that because I went on this, I don't know how I met this girl. She didn't go to our high school system. She went to one, like the next one over. So I went out with this girl, and again, she's from a different school system. I didn't know how we met, but I had my car, right? And I picked her up. We go to the multiplex. So yeah, we pull into the parking lot, and like as soon as we pull in, another car kind of shadows us. And she gets out, and the guy comes up to her like, Sally, what's going on? We were dating, and like they had broken up, and I was the lucky guy to be the first date after the breakup. But like,
no, I was the rebound,
and she was like, fuck this rebound guy. I'm going with this dude. And that was like the last I saw of her. But it was very strange because it was our second date. And when she got in the car, she goes, I noticed that the seatbelt lengths are different. I was like, okay. All of a sudden, like the tinglies are going up in my like back of my neck. Like, you got to get rid of this chick, you know? Totally paranoid. And, you know.
Yeah, because it's like, you know, it isn't possible that, you know, you have other friends in between.
My mother could have been anybody, you know?
Your best friend.
Right. I'm going to keep you set just for you for the whole week, right? Yeah, that's gonna happen.
Man, going out with Miss Marple there, it's like, you know, dusting the dashboard with fingerprints.
Yeah, exactly. It was like dating a detective or whatever. But yeah, luckily that just lasted 2 days.
Which again, that's one of those things where, you know, I mean, I would see guys going through that sort of stuff, and it's like, you don't need, you know,
you're way too young for that level of stress, you know?
Yeah. Even like, here we are in our 50s, pushing 60s, and it's like, yeah, I'm still too young for that.
Absolutely.
But, yeah, so let's see, dating again.
Well, now I look at what
I can't, because it's like, yeah, my son Johan.
Yes, young.
He's
Johan.
not like at that age yet where he's dating. So, I mean, I can't really comment on what dating's like today. I mean, I'd imagine that the two of them would just be sitting there on their phones texting somebody, or if not each other.
Good lead-in.
Well, if it's gotten more or less complicated, I would tend to think with social media today, you know, you'd have like, you know, some kind of chick where it's like, oh, she's looking for the guy that's going to look good in selfies and everything.
You know, when I look at what my kids go through, it's very much this sort of like immediate gratification thing in tune with social media. Like he has girls that come over, you know, 11:30 at night, like he's never met them before or whatever. God knows what they're doing in my den, but you know, like, and that's the end of that. And I'm like, hey, did you ever meet that girl last night? Yeah, it was all right. You know, but you know, they were doing the deed, you know what I mean? Or whatever it is. So it's a very different, like, people are skanks today, basically, is what it comes down to.
It's like, yeah, it was, yeah, I mean, it wasn't like it was when our parents were dating. I mean, that's for sure. I mean, back then, yeah, you go and you chanced out the net and you could be seeing like 5 different guys, you know, because you're playing the field, where it seems like now, it's like, yo, if a guy's going out with a girl, it's pretty much implied that they're, you know?
Well, I mean, for sure.
You know what I mean? It's kind of like,
I think that went on a lot more in our parents' generation. You know, but they didn't talk about it. They've kept up a good facade. But yeah, a bunch of horny guys come back from World War II.
Now, you know, seems like kids today, they don't have, you know, they have the girlfriend. They don't have like, you know, 4 or 5 girls that they're seeing at the same time.
Not even. My boys are like, I'm not dating anybody because they're all like, you know, skank wads. You know what I mean? I'll wait. I can put my education first. I think our generation was like, boy, you meet a girl and oh my God, stars go off and you get married and you have 2.8 kids and all that. They don't hold those illusions, I don't think. I think they're like, you know, it's a fun thing unto itself, but you really got to screen out the whack jobs, I think, today, you know?
Yeah. And they're just multiplying.
Right, because there's a lot of them out there. And, you know, imagine that. I mean, like you're dating, say, 2 or 3 girls and they're all dating 2 or 3 boys. And somebody starts getting jealous because you went out with like your other friends. It's all there on social media, you know? It's there. More of a story, really, than it is reality, right? So you're constantly fronting.
Right.
you're going to hurt somebody's feelings, right? Sooner or later.
You know, I mean, it's like, there was no shame in just like, let's just go over to Woolworths and like sit at the lunch counter and grab a quick sandwich. You know, it just seems like today, you know, because of, I guess, social media and because of, all those shows like, like the MTV with My Super Sweet 16. Remember that show? It's like, some of these chicks, it's like, they're looking for the whole big Hallmark movie kind of, where you got to go out to the nice place and you got to, it's like every date you got to go to like, some 4-star restaurant.
Yeah.
Because I know, it was funny because my wife had a friend and I think she was working on like her third husband.
Ouch.
Yeah. She was going on once about how it's like, she's still holding out for like, the whole knight in shining armor. Oh, I want to like, be held captivated and sip coffee and like, blah, and not know, and then, not even notice that the sun is coming up and, blah-de-dee-blah. Yeah, she's still clinging for like
Calvin Klein commercial, basically.
Fairy tale Hallmark movie. And
it didn't exist ever. It certainly doesn't exist when you're at the last quarter of your life. Yeah.
Right. That's why I feel excited though. It's like, honey, you're 58.
Yeah, right.
It's like you're treading water in the middle of the ocean.
Grab anything that's floating by.
Whatever comes driftable by. You don't hang out waiting for the Queen Mary to
jump
show
on
up.
that stump.
Well, you have some lot floating by. Grab it.
And I think as you get older, you're kind of happier alone. You can be, so that's a blessing in disguise. I think, not like you need some.
Well, I think a lot of that also has to do with your hormones calming down. Where it's like, it's like you think back to like your late teens, early 20s. It's like practically. The whole date itself, I mean, I'm not saying it was just like a booty call, but it was like, in the back of your mind, it's like somehow there has
some
to
light
be
petting at least going on here. I put $20 down.
Like, exactly. It's like, it's like, you're not getting out of this car until I feel it's like.
Well, that's mid-stalker.
And how it's kind of like, you're in bed and it's kind of like, well, there's sex or there's like, that leftover lasagna in the fridge.
Priorities.
Right.
Yeah. One of the things they used to have in the 80s was a hot tub right next to the movie theater. They had this little shop. It had like 2 or 3, maybe 4 hot tubs. And you'd pay and you'd rent the hot tub.
I was like, a shy little, like a painfully shy little twerp.
So there was this
I wasn't always this handsome, charming man of the world that you see today.
So there was this hot tub place, and they had a couple of hot tubs. You'd go in, you would rent the hot tub by the hour, right? So, I mean, this was like the perfect thing. I'd belly up to the bar, my little like 17-year-old self or whatever, lay my money down, and it was kind of like this little escape. It was like this you'd go in this room. It was just a hot tub and redwood, and God knows they were probably watching you from the rafters or whatever it was, but. And matter of fact, I remember years later going back with 2 of our friends that both of them. Now 3 guys going into a hot tub. That's not a good looking scene.
Well, yeah, I don't want to hear that. That's a side of what I never knew.
Well, it's just so funny because when the guy was cleaning out the hot tub, he came out like he was covered in these rubber gloves. I mean, remember this is the days of AIDS, right? He was covered from head to toe. From head to toe in like a rubber covered outfit, like space outfit. Like, okay, the hot tub's ready. They must have bleached that thing into oblivion.
Yeah, like he's down the cooling rods at Sheridan.
Yeah, right. It was like, I mean, little did they know we were just friends looking to, chill out or whatever. But that was a fun little place. Not around anymore, man. You don't see a lot of places like that, but I guess it just doesn't make the money necessary.
I think, I guess, also hot tubs don't really fall into the realm of exotica that they used to.
Now you have to have a dungeon. Some sort of...
This is fortune. I have a light sentence here.
I used to live on the Lower East Side down in Tribeca. Up in the meatpacking district, there was this place called The Vault. And it was like this sort of sexual deviance paradise or whatever. And
that's where you met your wife.
Yes, exactly. I never went there. I've only heard about it secondhand. But
well, you only heard about it from the two guys that you're floating around in the hot tub.
Like they would have like go-go dancers in leather, that kind of thing, Look at that. Oh, God. Anyway, back to dating in the 80s. So wholesome. So very good. Organized.
Well, that's those classy places that,
Yeah. And then there was...
It's either that, it's either that place or the Rainbow Room.
Yeah, I mean, where could you hang out? There was your house, there was her house. It depends on whose parents were a little bit cooler, or maybe ideally both parents working or something, because that was the time when, the wives were returning to the forest. So it left.
I remember once, I don't know if it's going to make the editing or not.
Let's hear it.
This is when my wife and I were dating, and I was doing a summer session at college, and her parents lived, in the area. It was literally like a 5-minute drive. So my second class of the day was canceled. So I'll swing by and, I'll see Shirley, not her real name. So, Shirley's sisters weren't around. Shirley's parents were working. Shirley's grandmother wasn't around. So I'm sitting there watching TV, and Shirley gets up. I think she's just going to get a cup of coffee. Shirley comes back in, and she's wearing a teddy. And I'm like, ooh, I think Shirley's got something else on her mind. So anyway, things start progressing, and my flyers aren't done, and then we hear a key go in the door.
No, downtown to horror.
And and we're in the living room, which is you'd walk in the house, dining room, living room kind of. All I see out of the corner of my eye is this purple flash as she's charging back into her room. I grab that.
Yeah, ouch.
Run over my room with the zipper.
Oh, fuck, no way. I mean, shoot.
And I'm like,
oh, God.
Hi, Mom. It's the grandmother walks in, and it's my eyes are kind of tearing. And she's like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, it's just, and I'm like, yeah, it's,
I'm just so happy to see you. Just so happy to see you. Oh, Lord.
Good times.
Yeah, good times. Yeah, that's for sure, man. Man, oh, man. I'm trying to think of a PG story that I can tell.
Well, you see, I have PG stories and you have, R and X stories because you had a hell of a lot more fun than I did. I've heard some of your stories, and it's you were doing stuff apparently in junior high school that I wasn't doing until I got to college. It's like I said, I was a late bloomer.
It's kind of like the thing you wish you knew what you knew now back then. Back then I would go and hang out in junior high school when I dated this girl who turned out to be a real skank. We would go and we just, we would hang out and basically hug. It was what it would, that's all I knew what to do at that point. And all that wasted time, man,
Well, that's the thing too. It's, if I really wasn't afraid of rejection. It wasn't scared, being scared of girls or whatever. It was more kind of just the Yenta network at play. It's you ask, it's you ask Ava out during homeroom. By third period of lunch, everybody knows.
Very small community. Yeah, that's for sure. You had to you really were risking your reputation if you got shot down or whatever it was,
it wasn't even really shot down. It was just kind of thing where it's just like, I guess well, I got a great story, a high school story, took place in the 80s. Probably won't make the cut because it's kind of going on a tangent. There was a girl that I had the hots for enormously in high school. Let's call her Jennifer, not her real name. Seriously, not her real name. Okay. Her real name is Karen. No. So anyway, you know me. I'm not Joe Astley here. So we had the same gym class, and I'm not going to impress her with feats of strength and agility. I'd prefer to wait until accounting class where I could dazzle her with mental acumen. You can see how well that one worked out. But anyway. So, now, did your school do gym like the same way we did, where it's like first day of the new quarter or whatever, everybody's on the bleachers and you're picking what you want to do?
Kind of, you mean like clubs and that kind of stuff?
No, like for gym, it's like, do you want to do tennis? Do you want to do weight room? Do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? I don't
remember that. I mean, that's really scratching off.
Well, anyway, so the first day of gym, and I see Jennifer, and it's like, I'm just sitting there with the guys, but the radar, it's like the ears are like honed in, and it's like, you hear her name and you hear, tennis. So it's like, okay, she's playing tennis. I'm going to take swimming. I'm going to go in the pool, total opposite end. So she can't see my disgusting, scrawny little body. So it's about, I guess like a week and a half later. And I'm just sort of floating around, getting used to the water. And it's like, I hear, hi, Jeff. And it's like, turn around. She switched into the class.
Followed you.
Yeah, I'm just like, she didn't follow me. Whatever. So anyway, the swimming teacher is a little bit of a prick. And so this is a couple classes later. We're doing like life saving or whatever. And he's like, calling off the pairs. And he's like, Joe, you're with this one, blah, 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 blah. Rufus, you're with Jennifer. And looks. So, we have to practice, so we're practicing like floating on your back kind of thing. So, here I am in the pool with this object of my desire just spread out in front of me like a buffet table, glistening with the water and the whole thing just floating on her back. I have to have my arms under her to like steady her. And it's just like, and if you remember the 80s, as far as like female grooming went, when a bathing suit got wet, especially a white one, you could kind of see what was going on down there.
Sample preview.
So I'm just like,
yeah, right.
It's like,
boy, that must have been a rough.
And then it's like, then the gym teacher's like, okay, switch. I'm like, I'll take a 0.
Yeah, right. I gotta go to the bathroom or something. I gotta be alone for a few minutes. Yeah, that's funny, man, how that stuff happens.
Well, totally irrelevant what I'm using.
You remember, like, back in junior high school, they used to have these things called teen canteen. And they were sort of like, you'd come, they'd get the McDonald's orange juice maker and they'd sell some candy and they'd play some music and you'd transfer in, young, and this is like 8th grade, 7th, 8th grade, to boys and girls interact. Yeah, they'd close the gym down, boys and girls get a chance to interact, and you'd have taunt a chick, and you'd have like kind of flirt with her. Do you remember those days?
Yeah,
I remember there were.
The thing I remember too about gym, it's like in junior high and elementary school, you come in one day and it was like all the guys and the girls are separated, and those big folding doors are closing, and it's like, something's going to happen. Something's going on. That's what they want to talk to you about. You're going to be a man soon. I'm only 12.
Square dancing, right? You'd have to go and you'd have to actually dance with a girl, I mean, that was like a, kind of easing the transition there, I guess, or whatever it was.
Oh God, I remember being horrified and terrified. Because if you remember in 6th grade, for some reason, they made us do square dancing.
Yeah, square dancing, right? That's where you were.
And
right.
in 6th grade, I had the biggest crush on a girl in our 6th grade class. I think you know which one I'm talking about. She lives down in Florida now.
I think so, yes.
Okay. And again, for some reason, when the gym teacher or whatever, putting you off in pairs, put me with her. And it's like, I'm just like, you're just like, oh, I hope she can't feel it. It's like, your hands are like a sweaty mess. And it's like,
yeah, absolutely. And then there's that whole thing of meeting the parents, like you say, that was a whole, you're trying to like put the best face forward and, that whole thing and be charming and witty. And it also seemed like you have a little potential and all that good stuff. It's a fine blend, a fine little tightrope to walk there.
Look at us now.
Yeah, right. Exactly right. The great slide into
it's like if their parents see us now, would they be impressed?
Yeah. They'd be like,
I remember one of my friends had a big crush on some girl, and he used to every day after school, you'd have to just go drive by her house. Just to drive by the house. It's like, and if she came out, what are you going to do?
Hit the gas and drive away, right? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Hey, wasn't that Larry from my my bio class? That's always. Thank God for the magic of alcohol.
It was a girl. Yeah. It's all about biology. Yeah. There was like a girl. That was the other thing too. Like biology. It's like, the two of you exploring the wonders of nature together. It's like, sharing a microscope. Cool.
Thank God for that car, man. 1968 Cougar. A lot of magic happened in there.
I had a 68 Ford Falcon. That car didn't see any action. This was also my grandfather's car, so I'm sure it's like if any action happened, that's like the car was probably haunted.
1938.
But that's the thing, too. It's like, I was watching some commercial the other day, and it was a commercial for Old Spice, the aftershave. And it's like, the tagline was, if your grandfather didn't wear it, you wouldn't be here today. Yeah. I was like, this is kind of creepy to me, It's like somehow, the thought of Pete and Flossie, going at it in the backseat of a Model A, it's not really, it doesn't induce me to purchase. I'm sorry.
Would you believe that stuff made a comeback? Like Mike boys both wore Old Spice at one point. I think it was in high school or whatever. Like in our generation, if you had that, you were an old geezer already, so.
Well, that was, you're talking about dating and everything. That was kind of, I don't know about you and your friends, because that was, you went to a different high school, but it seemed like, pretty much the part of every guy's toolbox. You had to have some Brute. You had to have some Aqua Velva. You had to have the Old Spice. It was like the go-tos. And then when you got fancy, it's like, you'd get, what was it, like Canoe or Paco was the big,
Paco.
Or Polo.
Probably, yeah. And then that first time you put it on, you just put on way too much and you stunk, you couldn't believe, people could find you. Smell you coming in the next room over.
You walk out with birds and squirrels are falling out of trees.
Tie stink lines over your head. Keep throwing stink lines. Yeah.
It's like, won't I smell great? Don't I smell like a man?
Yeah, that's for sure, right? Feel like.
Yeah, and then there's the whole thing. It's like, I remember, for a while, I used to really enjoy shaving. Now it's just a pain in the ass. I hate it.
Yeah. It's true. After a while, it kind of gets to, it's like the first time somebody calls you sir, right? You're just like, that's right. I am a sir. I'm a man of the world now that I'm 17 and a half.
Yeah. Now somebody calls me sir and I'm like,
my dad.
Just stop trying to suck up to me.
Exactly right.
either that or it comes off, either that or it just comes off being like condescending. Like, excuse me, sir. But, the way I hear it is like, excuse me, sir. It's, a Japanese girl, that was like heavy duty exotica,
Yeah, I think in general, that was something that was different too, right? It's like you're always dating back. Now it's a choice. The population is so diverse. Whatever flavor you're into, there's somebody out there for you. Back in the day, unless, you're just like vanilla, you were kind of SOL,
I won't get too much of an argument from you that between the two of us, you've always been the more open-minded.
Well, that's kind of you to say, Rufus.
But I don't know if when you got to college, well, for me, there was a little bit of culture shock there.
Yeah.
Because where we grew up, it was like, everybody had that house on the acre. Everybody had, I'm not going to, they didn't have like the Beamers and the Mercedes didn't show up yet, but, everybody had like, a Cadillac or like, the Olds 98, which is like a baby Cadillac or a Lincoln or, and then you go to, and especially, like the kids with the cars, it's like, the girls in our neighborhood, they had the Beamer 318 or the 315, whatever it was. That was like, the car of choice. Or the Volkswagen, the Rapid convertible. That was always a
that
chick
was
car.
Very popular. But how was that?
Or they had like, but the point is most of them, when we were in, they had new car. You and me were kind of like outliers with our cars from the 60s.
Yeah.
And then you go to like college and it's like, that's when you meet people of different economic stations.
Right on. Yep. That's true.
And it's like, it's the kind of thing where it's like, what do you mean you never went to Florida? It's like, I've been going to Florida like every year since I was born. You've never been to Florida?
Yeah, it puts things in perspective. I mean, I remember going to college my first semester in Boston, and there was this girl that took a shine to me, and she was kind of the aggressor. And like, I had always been used to the high school model where, you were the guy, the kind of horn dog guy trying to like, make it happen and stuff like that. And that was a little freaky. You know what I mean? It was like, kind of like, wasn't used to that.
Yeah. And then college, that's when you start realizing that, there's a lot of other religions out there too. I mean, growing up, like, in our neighborhood, it's like you were either Jewish or you were Catholic.
Yeah.
Or it's, or that was like, the worldview. It's like everybody's either Jewish or Catholic. But then you get to college and you find out that like, it's like, oh, well, maybe, there were some of these like little fringe groups, like, this girl was a Methodist and, she's weird. She's an Episcopalian. Don't even ask me what the hell they are,
That probably would have been better for me, I mean, not actually, it's probably better for me today, really, because, I like a little diversity in the dating pool. So if I was in high school today, I'd say there would probably be more options available,
Oh, yeah, definitely. But I think the thing too is that, I hate saying it, but, it's, again, you look at like when we were growing up, I mean, like back in the early 70s, it might as well still been like the mid 50s in our neighborhood, it was like.
And that was after the 70s, the so-called sexual revolution, right?
Right, exactly. It's like, I didn't meet anybody whose mother worked until I got to college.
That was happening when we were young, that transition,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if the mother did work, she did something like, part-time stuff at the library. Yeah. But it's like, I never,
the economy was changing.
Yeah. You never, it was never like, oh yeah, it's like, my mom's a riveter at Lockheed, it's like.
What about paying? You think girls today, like you go out on a date, do you 50-50 it? Is it, back in the day, the guy paid, it was like Victorian era or something,
Dude, I paid for everything. with, when I'm me and my wife were dating, and I'm still paying. No.
And more ahead. Let's hope not. Knock on wood.
Yeah, I think it was, I don't want to say if it was like a whole Victorian kind of like, manners thing, or if it was more like just, how do you say, like, more like a pride thing, like, it's like, well, you're like, what do you mean I can't afford, it's like
a fine blend and a beautiful tapestry of both, I'd say, but then now hopefully it's everybody, that's no longer the case. It's not like,
because I remember there was a girl that I was going out with in college. This was the one before my current wife. And, me, and which is funny because, my birthday is in May. So my birthday is after, like a week or two after college ends. And, I was, how the hell old was I? I was like 18, I guess. Yeah, 17 going to 18, whatever. Yeah, it was May of our freshman year. And she made me feel like the biggest, how do you say it without offending anybody, Made me feel extremely effeminate because she sent me flowers for my birthday.
Ah, wow.
I was just like, it's like, I know she was trying to be nice, but it was not, looking back, it was nice, but again, it's like the whole, 17-year-old, 18-year-old, Mr. Macho, where it's like, it's like, you want to get me something, send me a carton of cigarettes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's funny. And I think that, a lot of stuff has changed, that's for sure. So, any concluding thoughts on dating in the 80s? Would you like to go back there to date, or you would be in high school today and be totally happy?
Well, when you say go back, do I go back as like a horny 17-year-old? Or is it a current situation only back then? I mean, am I still like some old fart in my late 50s? Dating in the 80s, or are we reliving our
your libido is at its peak? You have no strings attached. You're living in your parents' house. And would it be better today where you can just swipe left, swipe right? I'll meet you down at the mall parking lot in a half hour, or something where you had to kind of work a little bit more, get to know the girl, date for a year, and then maybe you got a little action.
Well, but that's another thing too. It's like, I can't, I haven't had a one-night stand. I mean, I was always like, you gotta get to know the girl, because to me, sex and love were kind of inseparable kind of thing. Where, I mean, granted, in college, there were a couple times where I could have, all right. Okay. So, I might have missed out on some action, but at the same time, I never had to explain anything. I never had to talk my way out of anything with the guys. It's like, oh, God, you did that, it's like,
and it's also what you did on the date, right? I would use that as a way to screen out girls. I would invite them maybe the second date to the museum or the planetarium or something if they were like, that sucks, I knew that wasn't a chick for me, but bye-bye. But if they were like, that sounds interesting, well, on to stage 2.
Yeah. Let's go back to your thing. Today and then, I honestly, I think I probably would have, I think I really would have preferred it back when we were doing it.
Yeah.
Because it's
simpler.
Again, you screw up and you make an idiot of yourself. It's like, the damage control. It's probably she tells 5 of her friends and you tell 4 or 5 of your friends. At maximum, maybe 20 people know.
Yeah, now it's all over the world in 5 seconds, right?
Yeah, now, and this other thing too. It's you see some or whatever it is. It's like that. You look at like, her Facebook thing and it's like, like 4,000 friends. Like, you cannot have 4,000 friends.
Well, that's the scary thing too, is like a lot of times people do equate that, nowadays your social media friend is your friend. They're not. They're an onlooker, you know what I mean, to your life, basically.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, Facebook, I know you don't do it anymore. I'm really scaling back. Yeah, I think I have like 85 people. And of them, I think, maybe 10 I actually communicate with on a weekly basis. You have some of these other people where it's just like
who's left? You know what I mean? Like all the stupid people, it's boiled down to a fine broth of troglodytes, basically, like a fine condensed mix. It's like, I couldn't imagine spending time there. It's utterly very grim.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like I said, definitely I would have, outside of the fact that the girls were a hell of a lot cuter than they are today.
Why? Because you like big hair and all that stuff, you mean?
No, not even the big, no, I'm not even talking big hair. I just don't like, well, here we go again, which is probably going to get edited out. The bodies on girls today are a hell of a lot better than they were when we were in high school.
Statistically, how is that? I mean,
like when we were in high school, if a girl had like lemons, you were like, oh, wow, she's got, where now it's like.
They buy lemons.
I mean, you see some of these girls, they're like, you can almost see how like some guys would get into trouble because it's like you have girls walking around where like when we were kids, it's like that's the body of a 19-year-old. And it's like, the girl's like 15.
Yeah. Yeah.
A
lot of spandex going on nowadays.
I think girls were cuter then because they didn't wear as much makeup. They didn't have.
That's true. Makeup in the 80s, that was quite the.
I don't know. More, I guess it's also like a certain bit of nostalgia where you're going back to the era that you were comfortable in. Maybe
right. It's the leg warmer, designer jeans.
You didn't have the tattooed, pierced train wrecks like you have today.
Yeah, that's one thing that I don't really dig is the whole body art thing. So
I mean, it's
maybe
like
that's a generational thing.
Yeah, I mean, you see some of these people, even the guys. It's like, they got the studs in their lips and like the pierced nose with the chain going to their ear, and they got like tattoos on their head and the whole thing. And then it's like, nobody will hire them. It's like, oh, well, they're discriminating. It's like, well, why don't you look like a human being and maybe you could get a job in a bank? It's like,
yeah, it's definitely, like I can, if I was going to get a tattoo or whatever, it meant I was in the army and they had to identify the body. I'm not getting one for like, I know.
And you've heard me say that too. It's like, I'm still trying to figure out how a tattoo went from the kind of thing that like, a drunken sailor or a Marine got.
Yeah.
And his first thought on sobering up is like, holy shit, how do I get rid of this thing? Yeah. When now it's like, the ultimate female fashion statement.
And male as well. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Oh, yeah. Well,
I guess whatever. I guess aesthetics change. I'm kind of old fashioned on that sense. I like a natural look.
Oh, yeah. Well, so am I, like if you couldn't tell, I mean,
you're a natural beauty.
Now, exactly. I think the thing was, back then, I mean, girls were more, I guess, natural. I mean, they used makeup, but it was more to enhance than to transform, if that makes any sense to you.
I see that one. I can't go there with you because I think back in the 80s, it was like you put on this bright makeup and they had very bold colors, kind of a hangover from the 70s, really,
Maybe, music girl. I guess we hung out we hung out in different crowds, I guess. I don't know.
Oh, dude, pull out your yearbook. What are you kidding? That's like saying designer jeans didn't exist. It was just like,
I guess.
Then again, I don't know what they're doing today. Like, I don't know. What do I know? Like, I see I
don't know if I want to know what they're doing today.
Friends come over. They got a reasonable amount of makeup on. They're not like, painted war horse.
Not like bulldog. Yeah, I don't know. Something to look into, I guess. Maybe some of the viewers can chime in.
Well, I think what you got to do before the next episode, Rufus, is hang outside the high school and see what makeup girls are wearing.
Actually, I can't.
I've been banned from all the high schools in the area. So I don't know why.
No, because security, there's actually a toll booth with a gate.
Yeah, I believe it.
You can't just go in and...
No, there's a whole nother episode.
The whole pass on you.
Well, when we were in high school, it was the end of the 70s liberalism and the beginning of the Reagan era. I remember we used to be able to go to McDonald's, and then the next year it was like, sorry kids, no more, And now we're going to enforce hall passes and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I remember that too. It would be like, we'd be ducking out to like I said, like McDonald's. And it's like, the lady who was guarding the parking lot to make sure that we didn't leave was like, bring back some fries.
Yeah,
I'll let you go, but I want fries. It's like, you got it.
Yeah, exactly right. So, different era.
And then that's the other thing too, is that I know it's a tangent, but again, it's liability. It's like the way things have changed. It's like, here's, you and me going out to McDonald's and like during school time and we smack up the car.
Yeah, suing the school.
Then it's like, okay, we fucked up. Now it's like, you get the parents suing the schools.
Right, yeah.
Why didn't you? What?
My baby, you let him leave. He can't think for himself. Yeah, exactly. So anyway, all right. Well, I like those parting thoughts there, Rufus. I think that was a good one. Dating in the 80s, it was interesting. It was exciting. And today, I think there's some challenges we might not be ready for. But it's nice to be able to see it vicariously through my kids and how things have changed. And I am glad that I actually was going through all that stuff. The early years.
There's certain challenges that even at 57, I'm not up for.
Well, that's about it for today's episode of the Geezers Playhouse. If you have any topics that you think we should talk about, please be sure to leave them down in the comments below. What about you, Rufus? Anything you'd like to say to the worldwide audience out there?
The worldwide audience?
Worldwide audience, yes. All 20 of our followers.
20?
I think we got 3. Yeah, right. So that's another thing. Like and subscribe. It's if we got to jam that in here. So let's just put it in now.
You're waiting for some kind of worldly thought?
I'm waiting for a worldly thought from Rufus.
You got a long wait, pal.
No, just like a, hey, see you next time.
Oh. Okay. Hey, see you next time.
See you
Thanks
next
for watching. And hopefully you like what you're seeing and you'll be back. If not, you don't know what you're missing.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks for tuning in. Geezers out.